is a Pro Football Hall of Famer and a living legend.
He is gone. Has been a thorn in the side of the Buccaneers over the years. Proves it again.
Sanders tonight.
Cuts inside middle of the field, 40. Barry up to the races, 30, 20, 15, 10. They'll never get it. Touchdown, Lions.
Sanders first down, but he's going to pay them. Touchdown, Detroit. And a lot more.
Session for Detroit.
Barry Sanders with a seam. Sanders for the comeback. It's Sanders.
Before the headlines, before the roaring stadiums, highlight reels, and Heisman trophies, there was just a quiet kid in Wichita, Kansas, with a dream the world refused to see. Barry Sanders didn't walk into the game with hype. At 5 feet 8 inches, he didn't look like a future legend. He was soft-spoken, humble, invisible to most. But hidden beneath that silence was something unimaginable. A storm waiting to be unleashed. A force of nature in cleats. Born on July 16, 1968, Barry was the 7th of 11 children raised by William and Shirley Sanders. His father worked as a roofer and carpenter, his mother a nurse. The Sanders household was fueled by hard work and strict values. There was no room for entitlement, only expectations. Every day was a reminder that in life, you earn your keep. Barry's childhood wasn't about football glory. It was early mornings on rooftops, working side by side with his brothers under the sweltering Kansas sun. It was labor before play, but that foundation built more than muscle. It carved his character. It instilled humility, grit, a sense that greatness, if it came, had to be earned, not given. On the field and on the basketball court, Barry was a blur, explosive, electric, but he never demanded the spotlight. He didn't celebrate, he didn't taunt, he just moved, fast, precise, and silent. While others chased fame, Barry chased excellence. But even excellence needs opportunity. At Wichita North High School, he barely saw the field. Coaches doubted him. Too small, too quiet, too unsure. He wasn't even the starting running back as a senior. Then came Week 4. A suspension to the starter opened the door, and Barry kicked it wide open. He rushed for 274 yards and 4 touchdowns in a single game. And he didn't slow down. Over his final 5 games, he tallied over 1,000 yards, nearly breaking the city's single-season record, despite starting half the year. Yet even then, college recruiters looked past him. His size once again held him back. Of all the major programs, only 4 offered him a scholarship. Barry chose Oklahoma State, not because it was the biggest stage, but because they believed in him when others wouldn't. But belief alone doesn't fast-track you to glory. Oklahoma State already had a star, Thurman Thomas, one of the best running backs in the nation. So for 2 seasons, Barry sat in the shadows again, backing up greatness. Yet even in limited touches, he shined, averaging over 5 yards per carry and leading the nation in kick return yards. He was patient, precise, preparing. Then in 1988, Thomas left for the NFL, and Barry Sanders stepped into history. In just 11 games, Barry unleashed what many still consider the most dominant season in the history of college football. 2,628 rushing yards, 37 touchdowns, over 3,200 all-purpose yards, 234 points, all single-season NCAA records. And he didn't play in the fourth quarter of many of those games. He wasn't just better, he was untouchable. Defensive coordinators were helpless. Tacklers lunged at air. That fall, Barry Sanders didn't just win the Heisman Trophy, he redefined what a college season could look like. With the world now watching, he declared for the 1989 NFL Draft. The Detroit Lions, desperate for a savior, selected him 3rd overall. A franchise mired in mediocrity for decades now had a weapon unlike any the league had ever seen. But Detroit was no easy landing spot. The city was in turmoil, factories closing, unemployment rising, and a football team that hadn't seen a playoff win since 1962. Fans were starving for something, anything to believe in. Barry gave them just that. In his rookie year, He rushed for 1,470 yards and 14 touchdowns, barely missing the league rushing title by 11 yards. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year, earned first-team All-Pro honors, and was selected to the Pro Bowl. And he did it all with a quiet calm that made the league lean forward. He didn't celebrate. He didn't trash talk. He simply handed the ball to the ref and walked away. By 1991, Barry had transformed the Lions into contenders. That year, he posted 1,548 yards and 16 touchdowns, carrying Detroit to a 12-4 record and a playoff victory, their first postseason win in 29 years. It was unthinkable. In a city so often let down, Barry's brilliance became a form of healing. He was Motor City's miracle, but like all legends, adversity found him. In 1993, a torn MCL sidelined him for 5 games. It was his first real test, and critics wondered if his agility, his magic, would fade. They didn't know Barry. The next season, he returned and led the NFL in, rushing with 1,883 yards. He'd added more muscle, but lost none of his speed. He remained the league's most dangerous runner, bouncing, slashing, and cutting in ways that defied physics. A Vikings defensive coach once said the only way to prepare for Sanders was to have linemen chase chickens. It was the only simulation close to what Barry could do on Sundays. He became the first player in NFL history to rush for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 8 seasons. And in 1997, he reached heights few running backs ever touched. At 29 years old, Barry rushed for 2,053 yards, including 14 straight 100-yard games. He became just the 3rd player in NFL history to surpass 2,000 yards in a season. He was named NFL MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and broke the record for total yards from scrimmage. He wasn't slowing down. He was at his peak. And then, he walked away. On July 27, 1999, one day before training camp, Barry faxed his retirement letter to the Wichita Eagle. No press conference, no farewell tour, just a quiet, stunning goodbye. He was 30 years old, fully healthy, and just 1,457 yards shy of Walter Payton's all-time rushing record. But Barry wasn't chasing legacy. He was chasing peace. He once said, "My desire to exit the game is greater than my desire to remain in it." The Lions had failed to build a winner around him. He'd carried them as far as one man could. And when the joy was gone, Barry, true to form, didn't wait for applause. He just walked away. He retired with 15,269 rushing yards, the most ever by a player through 10 seasons. He led the league in rushing 4 times, made 10 Pro Bowls, and was named first or second team All-Pro every single year of his career. And he did it with nearly 200 fewer carries than the next closest rusher. But Barry Sanders was never defined by numbers. He was defined by what he didn't do. He didn't talk trash. He didn't seek the spotlight. He didn't dance in the end zone. He just ran, like no one else ever had. Barry made defenders miss without ever touching them. He turned ordinary plays into poetry. He could change a game in a single step. He was football's Houdini, a magician in motion. And when it ended, he slipped into the shadows the same way he emerged. Quiet, graceful, and unforgettable. Today, Barry Sanders lives a life far from the spotlight. A devoted father to 4 sons, including Barry J. Sanders, who played at Stanford and Oklahoma State, he's passed on more than talent. He's passed on humility, grace, and legacy. He serves as a brand ambassador for the Detroit Lions, showing up not just as a symbol of greatness, but of integrity. He's partnered with EA Sports, Pepsi, and Nissan, and lends his presence to charity work, youth football programs, and community causes across the country. In the business world, Barry has become a quiet entrepreneur, making strategic moves in sports marketing and media, always with the same mindset he brought to the field: calm, calculated, and classy. He may have left the game behind, but the game has never stopped following him. Because Barry Sanders didn't just change football, he changed how we felt about it. And in doing so, he didn't just escape tackles. He escaped the weight of expectation, the chains of ego, and the trap of staying too long. He didn't need the spotlight. He was the light. And that is why Barry Sanders will forever be remembered. Not just as one of the greatest running backs of all time, but as a man who redefined greatness on his terms and vanished into history with nothing left to prove.
I tell you what, every time we talk about Barry, we say that's the greatest one. Off to the races, 40 midfield, keeps going to the 10, 5, and touchdown! Handoff, Barry spins away from one tackle. Barry Sanders, a spectacular touchdown run. 35-30, he's gone! Unbelievable! Touchdown, Lions, Barry Sanders. Draw to Barry, to the 40, to the 50, 40. When in doubt, give it to Barry. Barry spins free, touchdown, Lions.
Wow.
A move, incredible runs that you will ever see.
Put myself into the ground because what this guy did to me in the open field.
Touchdown, Barry Sanders. What a sight.
The party game.